Good morning, you awesome self-storage people. So today we are talking about something that I get asked quite regularly, and it's about rent. We're not talking about freeholds, we're talking about leasehold today. And I get asked, how much rent should I be paying for a location? And I've talked about it personally one-on-one with people. I've talked about it in my newsletter, mrselfstorage.com. Go across there, daily newsletter. Well, cool kids hang out. I feel like I need to cough. I've just had a protein shake. I can't believe I do this all the time. Right, let's soldier on, Dean. Right, so how much rent should you be paying? What I'm going to do is walk you through exactly what I pay for each location, and then we can go on from there. So Beverly, my rent is £20,000 a year. I take at the minute £190,000 a year. So my rent is 11% of my revenue. So pretty good. I think that is really, really good going. Now, most places you won't get that. So £190,000 is the revenue. Rent is 20,000. That's 11% of my revenue is rent. Willoughby here. So we're taking £900,000 at the minute. It's probably going to increase this year. It's good. It's not a fully mature site, so it will keep increasing and increasing and increasing the rent. I think we'll get it up to about 1.1 million. So the Willoughby rent is 180k. We take, and these are rounded numbers, by the way. So, and we take 900. So that means 20% of my revenue is rent. So 20%. I don't think that's too bad. I think 20% is okay. I mean, by the way, people will differ with me. I'm sure there's people out there thinking, are you joking? That's so much, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I pay a lot on rent. And the reason I pay a lot on rent is because I make sure that the location is key for me. And so, yeah, there's people out there who are paying a lot less, but I know that I am future-proofing myself because it's going to get more competitive as the industry. We all know that. So what I am doing here is making sure that we're future-proofing ourselves and having a great location. Very, very few of my sites, you will be able to outposition me. So that is future-proofing. I'm happy paying a little bit more to get that good location. Clough Road. Clough Road is quite expensive. Clough Road, my revenue, when mature, so I put when mature because we've only been open a year and something at the minute, so it's nowhere near a fully mature site. So when mature, I reckon we'll take somewhere between, I've put here £480,000. My Clough Road rent is £100,000 a year. So that means that once mature, it's not mature yet, we're only taking about 260 at the minute. Will we get to that 480? I don't know, because we're 70% full. I've got to be some good revenue management. I'm sure we will, though. I'm sure. You edit it here first. In 2 years, we'll get there. And so if we get to that point, then my rent to revenue ratio is 21%. So 21% of my revenue comes from rent. 21% of my revenue is the rent. Yeah, hopefully you understand. I've put here Wrexham. Now, this is the interesting one. When I first took it over, it was doing £108,000. Well, it's doing £100,000, but I'll put here £108,000. The rent was £55,000. That is incredible. If your rent is around about 50% of your turnover, you have some serious problems. And I put here, that is way too much. So you either have to decrease the rent or increase the revenue on this site. Now, obviously, we're not going to be able to decrease the rent because we're in with a lease. In fact, it's actually going up to 65 grand. So it's going up another 10 grand. So that means it's going to be 60% of my overall revenue. That is way too much. We've made some changes since I wrote this, because this was on the 27th of September. Now we are taking just over £150,000. So we've increased the rent at Wrexham. We had to. There's no way it was sustainable. You couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was just too much. So I've put here, we need to get, so at the minute it's 55,000. For me, your rent has to be a minimum. Your revenue, has to be a minimum of 4 times the rent. So £55,000 on this occasion in Wrexham. That means we need to make this facility take £220,000. So it can only be 25%. A maximum of 25% is your rent. Hopefully that's making sense. Yeah. So out of your revenue, when you look at your revenue, it can only be 20. 25% at an absolute maximum. If it doesn't, I don't think the numbers add up. So the first thing I do when I look at a new site, for example, I've just looked at a site in Winsford, and they want a hell of a lot of money for this container site. Let's say they want 70 grand, right? So straight away, I know that I need to take £280,000 there to make it worthwhile. 4 times the rent, that's what I need to make. So then therefore it's only 20, it's going to be 25. The rent is 25% of my turnover. If I can't do that, if I don't see a pathway to doing it, I can't do the deal. There's a site in Scotland where the it's £20,000 a year is the rent. Can I turn over 80 grand there? Hell yes, all day long. Of course I can. There is no danger that I can do that. I know that we'll do that very, very comfortably. Hence, we've gone for it. We can do a lot more, by the way. I've done a whole thing about it before. I think I've done a podcast about it. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that site, but we just got to get through this planning problem we've got at the minute. So I need a clear pathway now. Like I said, the minute Wrexham is £150,000 a year revenue. That's what we're taking now. If we continue on the same monthly recurring revenue, we'll get to 150 grand. However, I need to increase it to 220. Is there a clear pathway? I bought this facility because I knew there was a clear pathway. One, we could increase the revenue. They hadn't had a price increase in 15 years. So there was a clear way to add value there. And also, we could turn the outside space that he was just allowing camper vans and banged up cars to park. We could put a gate on it, a fence on it, and we could introduce containers. We've introduced 16 containers at the minute. We can get 51 containers on there. So we can easily increase the rent. And it's 150 at the minute. We can get it to 220,000. I'm absolutely certain by this time next year, the MRR will be 220,000. So to answer the question I put here, the rent should be 25% of your revenue, no more. Do you know what? If it's an absolutely amazing location, a nice big site, if it's a smaller site, you don't really want to be going this high. But if it's a bigger site, because there's room to grow, then I would go to 30% at an absolute push. But I wouldn't want to be going much more than that. So to answer people's questions here, how much rent should I pay for a location? The rent should be 25% of your overall revenue, 30% max. So when you do your projections, you need to be hitting that turnover figure. If you're not, then you could be in serious trouble. Or not serious trouble, you're just not maximize. There's sites out there better for you that can get a better return on investment. That place in Winsford, could I have made it work? Probably. Is it going to be another container site? I think so. Somebody else has put a bigger offer than me in. And so it's probably going to work. It's 1.6 acres, but they're introducing 30,000 square foot into the market. And there's just been a new site open there as well. A massive indoor. What is it? Oh, I forgot the name. Kevin Thompson's the founder of it. The Storage Room. They've just opened a new site there. A massive site. So is it oversaturated at the minute? It's not a massive population, probably, but it is a great location. But I just couldn't see a way that I could turn over £300,000 from a container site. I just couldn't see that way. And so therefore we missed out on the site. I put, by the way, the closing statement here is by the way, I pay more rent than most because I'm a big believer in the best location wins. And the best location is also the most expensive location. So I'm happy spending that little bit more if I'm getting that good location. So I hope that answered everyone's questions. To run through, Beverley, we're paying 11% of my revenue is rent. At Willoughby, 20% of my revenue, 20% of my revenue is rent. Clough Road, once mature, a little bit questionable about this, is going to be 21% of my revenue is rent. And then Wrexham, at the minute, or when I wrote this, it was 51%. But now, let's just quickly do the maths. I think it's 157, 55,000 or 55,000 divided by 157. At the minute, it's 35%. Oh, so we need to get that still below. But the revenue is increasing every single month as and when we do the price increases. And we've introduced insurance. They never had insurance before. And also, we're introducing extra containers, which massively helps. All right, my friends, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow morning. See you soon. Don't forget to sign up to MrSelfStorage.com. All right, I can go and cough now because I've been dying to cough all the way through this. All right, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.